going on, everyone? Jack here from Half Chrome, and I hate cutting the grass, so I got myself one of these. This is Jackson. He's my son. So now that he's 14, he gets to cut the grass. But it turns out he actually doesn't like cutting the grass either, so we got this. This is a robotic lawnmower. This thing cuts the grass for us. And I'm going to tell you all about it. Stay tuned. Now, if you're thinking this is a little different than what we usually feature on the channel, you're right. Generally speaking, drones, cameras, even e-bikes and other electronic things are what we generally focus on, but I couldn't pass the opportunity up to try one of these robotic lawnmowers. It's always been something that has intrigued me. Do they actually work? Are they worth the money? Will it even cut my grass? These are all things that I was curious about, so yes, I'm absolutely going to get to the bottom of it. I wasn't lying when I said I hate cutting the grass. It's not a chore that I enjoy. It's always hot and sweaty, you get all sticky and itchy from the grass. And when my son was old enough, yeah, I was pretty excited to add that to the list of chores that he can do, but it's not something he really enjoys either. And he's actually learned to be decent at it, but this robotic lawnmower, I thought, this might be something that's going to help maintain my lawn. We oftentimes go too long between cuttings and then you have all this extra grass. Do you bag it? I know mulching is supposed to be better, so I thought this robotic lawnmower is a great opportunity to keep my lawn nice and looking good, but also not put in a whole lot of extra time. So let's find out if this robotic lawnmower is worth your money. So the lawnmower I'm testing is the Sunseeker L22 Plus. It's a pretty interesting little machine. It has obstacle avoidance, has a couple little sensors in the front so that if it sees something with one of those sensors, it'll actually stop before it touches it. But let's say it doesn't, right? It just kind of sneaks up or runs in front, right? I have a dog, I have kids. Is it going to stop? And the answer is yes. Generally speaking, it would sense them first, but if they really just snuck up on it, it'll stop when it bumps into them. What about, like, can you just pick it up? Will it stop? And yes, it has sensors and things, so if it's running it, grab it and pick it up, it stops right away. So this thing is pretty darn safe. They built in some really nice safety features, and I do like that. Right, so we have an 8.7-inch cutting surface here. These are like little razor blades, actually going to be pretty easy to change, so that's kind of nice. It's just going to mulch everything right into the grass. Now, it's programmable through your phone. You have to connect it to Wi-Fi. It also connects via Bluetooth. And initially I was having issues getting it connected to Wi-Fi, and that was actually my issue. I'll explain that in a second. So first, I connected it via Bluetooth, and I was able to just go in the app and tell it to start, and it would cut the grass. And it took about 4 days before it kind of hit all of the little spots. If you ever had one of those Roomba vacuums, where it just kind of randomly vacuums your carpet, that's what this is. It just kind of randomly goes out and bounces off the borders that you set up for it until it eventually cuts all your grass. Now, if you do connect it to Wi-Fi, and you have to connect it to a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi router. Now, I was trying to connect it to my 5 gigahertz router. I believe there's AC, then there's 5, and then there's 2.4. 2.4 gives you kind of the longest range, so that's what you have to connect it to. Once I did that, I connected just like that. But make sure you're connecting to a 2.4 gigahertz router, otherwise the other ones just won't connect. Now, they do say it'll cover up to 8 acres. That's a pretty expansive cutting ground. This battery does last for a pretty long time. It basically goes out, cuts, and then when the battery gets low, it comes back and charges, and then it'll go back out until it finishes the job. They do say you can connect to your Amazon Alexa or Google Home. I haven't done either of those things. I just like using it on my phone here. Now, getting it set up was actually fairly simple. So the first thing you have to do is find a spot for your base where you have power, and then kind of map out your yard before you start with the wire. Run this wire all around the perimeter of your yard. Now, you have to basically leave a foot of clearance between any sort of fence or obstacle so that it can go around it. So because of that, I was actually only able to do the back and the side of my yard, so it kind of limited that for me. So I still have to cut the front of my yard, but instead of taking about an hour to cut my grass, I can get it done in about 15 or 20 minutes. I still have to trim as well, so because you have to lay this border about a foot from fences and other obstacles, you do still have to do some trimming. Now you're thinking, well, I'll just put it right up to the fence, and you don't want to do that because then your mower will get stuck, right? I put it too close to my basketball pole, and while it didn't stop, it just kind of bounced off of the perimeter and then kind of went into the yard and started cutting. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but you have to have this thing run a few different perimeters. You have to hit the edge function and do it 4 or 5 times. Then it will map out your yard. So basically, hit the edge function, follow it around, make sure that it's, you know, completing that whole border process correctly, and then it'll map out your yard, and then you can tell it where to go and where to start. You get a ton of these little pegs that you're going to hammer into the ground to keep this wire from kind of floating away, and they give you a little guide to show you exactly how far apart. It was like 30 inches or so, and you can put them closer. I've got more than enough. Now, it took me about 2 hours to put this border around my yard, and it takes me about an hour or so to cut the grass. So, you know, basically 2 grass cuttings to get this done. Now, one of the things that I really like about this is that it's super quiet. It is supposedly the quietest robotic lawnmower on the market. Now, I don't know, you know, I can't verify that it's the quietest, but it's quiet. It is super quiet. It's not like cutting the grass with, you know, super loud gas-powered mower. This thing is nearly silent. I haven't had any issues of it really getting stuck. There was one instance, and I've been running this thing for a couple of weeks already, and it got stuck one time, and that was after a rainstorm and kind of this random patch where there were a bunch of kind of pine needles that kind of made things slippery, and it kind of dug itself a little groove, and I just kind of went over there and pulled it out, and it was good to go. Raising and lowering the height is just a twist of the dial, pretty darn simple. I keep it right in the middle at 60 millimeters. It goes from 1.6 inches to 3.2 inches in height. You can kind of figure out what works best for you and what kind of grass you have. I think there are probably different things you want to think about when you're doing that. But it is mulching, so that is the best thing for your grass. Kind of keeping your grass constantly cut and mulching it. You're kind of feed your grass as you're cutting it. And as I've used this thing, my grass has looked better. Now, the backyard does look much better than my front yard, and I think that's just because it's kind of getting this healthy cutting every single day. Now, you can kind of schedule it how you want. You want it to go out once a day, twice a day, every day, not on the weekends, only at night. That's something you can set up in the app, and it's pretty easy to do. But this is a waterproof lawn mower, right? It'll go out, and it's okay to just kind of leave it out overnight or in the rain. That's not going to damage it. In fact, to clean it, you just kind of hose it off, and it's good to go. Now, it will also sense rain, and it'll delay cutting, so it's not going to cut in the rain. You can say, hey, if you sense rain, delay for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. You set that delay parameter. If it is raining, it'll say, hey, no, I'm not going to cut the grass right now. I'm going to wait on that. So yes, I am a fan of this robotic lawnmower. I was actually really skeptical at first, but it's pretty simple to use and it does a nice job. Now, it does have the drawbacks, right? I can't have it cut the front of my yard because I have to set this perimeter down, and that doesn't allow me. I could, right, if I was to go out into my neighbor's yard, that would be an issue, right? So I have to just kind of limit it to my backyard, so I can't use it because of the way that my lawn is built. So you got to kind of figure out how your lawn is, and then just kind of plan that out before you lay down this wire. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad that I have one of these. Definitely something to consider, especially based on the price. Now, I think this is roughly $1,000. It hasn't been released as of the recording of this video, but I believe it's about $1,000, give or take. And I'm going to ask Sunseeker to give me a coupon to give you, just in case. So if that happens, check the video description down below for that coupon code so you can save a few extra bucks. But either way, you know, a good lawnmower is going to cost you $500-600, and a lawn service is even more expensive than that over time. So could this save you time? Absolutely. Could it save you money? Maybe even in the long run. It's so nice not having to deal with the gas and the smell of gas and all of those things with cutting the lawn. I'll deal with this in the 15 minutes that I have to do in the front and the trimming, and I'll be good to go. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll get to them. Hey, thanks for watching.